Hello everyone, welcome to ACE Online and welcome to daily current affairs session. So we will see the current affairs that are part of yesterday as well as today. Yesterday was a holiday, May 1st. So we will see the current affairs covering yesterday as well as today, right. So briefly we will see what are all the articles that we are going to cover today. We have a very good number of issue based articles today as well, like last time. We need to understand them. So a little bit lengthy session can be expected, and please be focused when you are understanding the issue. Some are there factual in nature, that is fine, you can just remember and revise those things, but issue based articles whatever we are discussing, try to focus more, be attentive, don't allow your mind to flow away from here, right. And also if you have any doubts, you can post your doubt in the comment section. So these are the articles that we are going to cover today. First one, May Day. So yesterday we have celebrated the International May Day as well as International Labour Day. We will see the history when it started and the date has been changed. Now the present date that we are celebrating, so everything related to that we will see in detail, right. Then methane emissions. So there was an article in the Hindu regarding methane emissions. There was a shift, a private study, it was a private study of course, but the shift in release of the sources. There were some other sources which were contributing for methane emissions, but the new sources has been dominant. So we will see that as well in detail. So this is part of, you can say, the core current affairs. We can say it as part of history also, yeah. So we can say this is part of history. Then methane emissions is part of our environment. Then Eggshell skull rule. So this is related to the polity, judiciary specifically. So we will see that as well. So this can be categorized under polity. Then redistribution of wealth. Again, this is a very big article which we will discuss in detail, related to the fundamental rights as well as the directive principles. So this is also part of polity. So today we have a good number of polity articles. Nutrient based subsidy scheme. So this is related to the agriculture. Some students were asking about this particular scheme few weeks back, right. Few weeks back some students were asking that we want to discuss the nutrient based scheme. So I don't remember the name, but yeah, now today we will discuss about this nutrient based scheme which is part of, right. Then voting of accused persons. So again this is part of polity. So as I said, we have a good number of polity articles. So we will see who can be voted, who cannot be voted from jail, right. So we will also see the background associated with it. Next, phishing attacks from science and technology, right. And finally factual pointers. We have a good number of factual pointers. Actually there are certain articles, some 2-3 articles can be taken under the separate articles, but it will take lot of time. So I will just tell you the facts which are relevant for our exam. So factual pointers and then practice questions. So these are all the articles that we are going to discuss today, and a very good evening to everyone who are in the session. Sahana, Prasad, Indila, welcome to the session. So let's see the first article, that is May Day, right. So the context is yesterday, that is May 1, we have observed the May Day, which is also called as International Workers Day or International Labour Day, right. So that's why. Now let's go a little bit more details about it, and then we will go for the history as well, right. We will go a little bit back into the history as well. So this is recognize sacrifices made by the workers. So if we go back to the 200 years back, so there is a industrial revolution, like the invention or discoveries of steam engine, all those things, and then the industries were laid. So we have shifted our activities from agriculture to the industry, right, which is a good thing. But there were also negative consequences, that the people who were deployed in the industries, that workers were forced to work for more than 15 to 16 hours a day, right. For every 24 hours they used to work for 15 hours, 16 hours, and their health got deteriorated. They were alienated means disconnected from their families. So they have faced a very wrath of condition due to the industrial growth, right. So after few years, after 50-60 years, after seeing all this exploitation by the rich people from the workers, all those people came together and they started protesting that we need to have only 8 hours of work per day, and also we should have certain leaves, breaks in between, right. So, the objective is to recognize the contribution of the workers, right. So, this is being celebrated as International Workers Day, and this is being accepted in approximately 80 countries. Not all the world countries are celebrating World Workers Day. Only around 80 countries are celebrating, including India, China and other countries as well, right. So, different on this particular day, different areas, different countries which are celebrating, they do marches and then protest that the workers' rights should be protected, right. So, this is about the context, still we are in the context itself. Now, let us go back to the history, right. As I said earlier, Industrial Revolution was started in UK, right, especially the UK, United Kingdom, British. After that, it spread across the Western Europe, and then it shifted to the American region as well, North American continent as well, including USA, Canada and certain parts of Mexico as well, right. So, the Industrial Revolution, which aims to develop the industries shifting from agriculture, has started across the world after certain years. It even went for the USA as well, right. So, the workers in USA are more aware, they were educated even those days, and they were aware about the human rights, basic rights, the fundamental rights that humans should have for themselves, right. So, because of this, there was an increase in work, and even America was under Britain, France for few years. So, there was a huge protests in the Hammer Market affair. It is in Chicago. There was a place called as Hammer Market. Here the workers started protesting for equal right, and then we should only contribute for 8 hours work per day. They were peacefully protesting, it is not a violent one, they were peacefully protesting, and there was a small bomb explosion in that area, and then police rushed there and they have dispersed all this crowd, and a lot of chaos or volatility happened in that area. Approximately 8 civilians were died, and then 30 to 40 people were wounded, right. The people who were protesting for equal work and then limited hours and then some break. So, they were protesting, and this was broken by the police that time, and then there was a violence and few people have died, right. So, this was the historical background, and US as formally recognized, United States was formally recognized that first day, the Labor Day will be celebrated on first Monday in the September, right. First Monday in the September will be celebrated as a Labor Day. So, our May Day is separate and this one is separate now currently, but the starting was happened from USA, but they are not celebrating the May Day on this May 1, right. They have their own day, right. So, this is what happened in USA because of these protests and all. They have recognized the May Day to mark the rights of the workers, right. So, this is of USA, but now it was celebrated, it has happened on May 4th, and they have recognized the first Monday as the May Day or Workers Day. But now why we are celebrating on May 1? So, this was shifted. What happened in USA is one thing, but from there the workers movement has shifted to other continents, other countries, right. Now, let us see why it shifted from some different day to May 1. There was an international organization called Second International. It is an international organization, a body, like how United States is an international organization. Similarly, in 1889, there was a Second International which is striving for the welfare of the workers, right. So, the objective of this organization is to strive for the workers' right. So, they have marked the International Worker Day as May 1. So, on May 1, the Second International has recognized as a May Day, right, or International Labor Day. And after 5 years in 1994, then there was one more Congress, International Socialist Congress. There are 2 or 3 popular type of governments. One is capitalist, where the free market is lived. So, the growth of country is left to the private organizations or private people, right. It is the government role is minimized, and in case of socialist type of governments, the role of government is more, right. So, the private property is regulated, even if they are earning, that will be taken and redistributed to the people who are poor, right. So, there was a International Socialist Congress. So, this is the body of coalition of all the socialist parties across the world. In those days there were number of socialist parties across the continents, and all these parties together they have launched International Socialist Congress, right, and then they have started celebrating May Day from 1894. They have started celebrating the May Day to mark the importance of the rights of the workers, right. So this is what happened. So this is, they have asked for 8 hours day work, it should be limited for 8 hours, and we still following the same. So such a huge significance it has, right, and we should have proper breaks in between like Sundays and all, they have questioned, and that is why we are celebrating it. And it was expanded after Russian Revolution. So Russia was in World War I, they were one of the participants on the sides of USA, UK and all, but in between, even before finishing the World War I, Lenin, who was the leader of Russia, they came out of it that Russia was losing lot of resources and we need to spend lot of things. So that is why we were not able to have even food, and the workers were struggling a lot. So that is why Lenin came out of the World War. Russia in between itself, they came out of World War I, and he became the leader or the chancellor of Russia and started implementing the measures for the workers movement. So that is why, as Russia is one of the leading country those days, all the countries, the allies of Russia also adopted the May 1, and similarly we also those days were associated with the Russians, right. So in 1923 May 1, India has celebrated the first May Day. This is also important date to be remembered. First May Day in India was observed in 1923, right, and this was popularized by Singarvel Chettiar. So he was the one who is the leader of Labour Kisan Party, and he was the forefront in implementing this May Day, right. So any doubts in this? So let me briefly go back a little bit, right. So May Day was first started in the USA, right, with Hammer Market issue, and then it was expanded by second international organization. After that, International Social Alliance, the groups of different parties from socialist type of parties, they have started celebrating May 1, and it was expanded to most of the Asia as well as some Eastern European through the Russian Revolution with the leadership of Lenin supporting the workers movement, right. So this is the background. Any doubts in this? Anyone? So this is a historical event. So of course there is no concept as such, but you need to remember the evolution, why we are celebrating, what is the background and all, they may ask you, right. Any doubts? Please do let me know if you have any doubts. Yeah. Next one, methane emissions. Methane emissions, right. So there was an article in Hindu yesterday. There was a study conducted by some private organization, private entity, right. So let us understand with the diagram. So this is the methane emission, for example, this is the methane emissions, right. So usually methane is emitted in a two sources, two type of sources. One is, we will see about the methane also. Let me explain you briefly the background, what the study has proved, then we will understand. So there are two things, biogenic and thermogenic emissions. Briefly understand the context, then we will go what is methane and then what the study proved and all. So methane emissions are emitted in a two main sources. One is biogenic and second one is thermogenic. So emissions from our earth surface are mainly coming from these two sources, right. I hope you are following. Yeah, great, thanks for the response. Biogenic and thermogenic. Whenever there is a exploration of fossil fuels means coal or hydrocarbons, petroleums, natural gas. Whenever we are exploring those things, the methane is being released, and that methane is called as thermogenic methane. When we are extracting fossil fuels, the methane which is releasing is categorized as thermogenic methane. And when the methane is being released from bio activities, that human activities like agriculture, cattle rearing, and other like landfills, we are just dumping all the waste at single place, and because of some microbes present in that waste, the methane gas is being emitted. So bio means life, any life involvement and then leading to the emission of methane is called as biogenic methane. So there are two categories of methane emissions from the earth, and earlier it was dominant for the fossil fuels. Most of the methane since till 2007 the study has conducted and proved that since till 2007 it was the fossil fuels which were dominant in emitting methane into the earth surface. So the activities which are involved in the fossil fuels more higher, but now there is a shift. Fossil fuels emissions of methane got stabilized. There is no more methane being released from this particular activities, but the methane is being released from these activities, the agriculture, cattle rearing, the waste that we are dumping on the landfills. So this methane, which is called as biogenic methane, is contributing more to the methane emissions, right. So that is what the study has proved, right. So you need to understand it, what is the difference and what is the present condition. The present it is dominant, earlier this was dominant. Now this study was conducted by the private study, you no need to remember anything. So this is what we have discussed, till 2007 it was dominant, and now it is being shifted to the biogenic process. So the study also we have understood. Now let us know the facts about the methane, which is very important and repetitively been asked in the exams. So methane is you all know 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms, right. So it is the formula of methane, and this is a colorless as well as odorless, that means there is no taste or no smell, but highly flammable gas. Highly flammable gas means in the presence of oxygen, if the gas is just with even small spark of fire, it will get catch with the huge fire, it will spread the fire, right. So it is a colorless, odorless but highly flammable gas, and this is a high intense greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gas means over the earth surface, you can see here. So for example, this is the earth atmosphere. If this methane gas is increasing, the amount of heat trapped in the atmosphere will increase, right, like CO2 also. If this methane present in the atmosphere gets increased, the heat that earth is reflecting after receiving from sun, it will reflect back above to the atmosphere, but because of the presence of methane, all this methane absorbs the heat and it will remain in the atmosphere itself, and the heat is more so that we cannot able to get rains properly, and then heat waves will come, right. There is a lot of other effects as well. So methane is one such gas which can trap the heat within our atmosphere like CO2, right, and its intensity is more high. That means the methane can capture lot of heat when compared to the CO2. So CO2 amount is more higher in the atmosphere, but the intensity, the amount of heat that can captured by the methane is much more than CO2, right. So this is about the methane basic elements. As I said, this is the second most abundant gas after CO2, but it is high intense than CO2, right, and this is a short lived gas compared to the CO2. CO2 can stay in atmosphere 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, right. Say for example, one industry has released the CO2. So in the atmosphere, CO2 can remain for 20 years, 30 years, but methane at max can be lived for 10 years. So they will go away from atmosphere. So it is a short lived compared to the CO2, but more intense. I will show you the question also asked in one of the examination. So try to remember them. And also in the last century, that is in the last 100 years, the potential, the emission of methane is 28 times higher than CO2, right. So methane warming potential has increased more than CO2 28 times. So this is about the methane gas. There will be a question, so try to remember what we discussed. Now as I said, I already explained the two types of sources for the emission of methane, that is thermogenic and biogenic. Now tell me someone, what is biogenic source? Yes, CO2 also do like this, Malini. See this amount of, if you know the atmosphere, if you have read some basics from NCERT, in our earth atmosphere the most abundant gas is nitrogen, N2, then oxygen, then argon, and then CO2. So, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is much more than CH4, more than methane, but the amount of heat that methane can capture is more than CO2, that is intensity of greenhouse gases. Even CO2 is the largest contributor because it is more in the atmosphere, but if you talk about the intensity, then methane is having high intensity to capture the heat, right. So, this is I hope this is clear. Yeah. So, someone have answered it already. Biogenic means from microorganisms and then cattle waste, all those things, agriculture activity. So, we have discussed this already. So, we will go to the next one. Now, also as I said, the biogenic one or the dominant one, the study has proved that biogenic was higher now. Now, this biogenic is caused by microorganisms called archaea. This you need to remember a lot. It is a single celled microorganisms. In our human body we have millions of cells, right, but this archaea is having only one cell in its body. So, it is a single cell which is producing methane. If you are dumping lot of waste, for example, you might have seen in many of your areas that lot of waste is dumped, right. So, here if such waste is occupied in this region for certain time, if even for 24 hours, this archaea which is present in the waste will react and then they will decompose this material and methane gases are released into the atmosphere, right. So, never throw your waste outside of your home. So, just keep it aside and then whenever there is a source where you can give it on, so try to give there, right. So, this is the role of archaea. They thrive in the absence of oxygen. So, whenever there is a lack of oxygen in this particular areas, right, and then there is a waste, usually waste have less amount of oxygen, right. So, this will lead to the emission of methane gases. So, this is the role of archaea. They are called as the methanogens. So, they may ask you in the exam what is archaea or what is the term methanogen, something like that. They are nothing but single cellular microorganisms which can lie on the waste and then they can emit methane gases in the process of decomposition, right. So, this can be done this can happen in many of whatever the environments wherever there is a less amount of oxygen, right. So, this converts organic matter into methane, this also we have discussed. Now, as I said, this methane gas is being more from the agriculture fuel, fossil fuels, dairy farming and all, methane is being increased. Now, what the study has proved, as I said, till 2000s, the methane gas due to fossil fuels were much higher, and after that it got stabilized. There is no increase in the methane gas due to this thermogenic, right. So, thermogenic activities were stabilized, but now the major contributor is biogenic processes which are contributing more of methane emissions, right, like agriculture activity, animal rearing, landfills, all these things, right. It also observed that cattle rearing is higher in Latin America. Latin America means Southern America, the Argentina, Brazil part. This was observed by the study that the cattle rearing of Latin America is emitting a lot of methane, and if we come to our region, that is South Asia, the emissions are more from the waste. So, as we are having higher amount of population, we means here South Asians like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal. So, as we are having more amount of population, we are emitting lot of waste and that is contributing for the biogenic methane, right. So, that is what the study has proved. I hope this is clear. Is this clear till now? Now, there was the article also mentioned about the global methane pledge, that the measures we are taking. So, global methane pledge was launched in COP26, Conference of Parties. Do you remember in one of previous sessions we have discussed UNFCCC, United Nations Fund for Climate Change. In 1992 we have launched, and every year we are meeting in the December, right. So, that is called as Conference of Parties, and Conference of Parties of COP26 has happened in 2021 in Scotland, Glasgow. So, there this initiative was launched, Global Methane Pledge, and the aim is to remove the methane emissions, to reduce the methane emissions and contain the methane emissions into the atmosphere. It was launched by United States and European Union together, right. So, approximately 111 countries are participating in this global methane pledge, and India is not a member. You can see here India is not a member of this pledge. We have said that we are not ready to eliminate the methane, we are still depend on agriculture, animal rearing and all. So, we were not able to sign now, maybe in future we will do that, right. So, this methane pledge aimed to remove 30% of methane at 2020 level by 2030. Let me explain you this with example or with some representation. In 2020 we are having 100 tons, for example, imagine 100 tons of methane emitting every year, I mean 2020 100 tons. So, by 2030 we are going to reduce by 30%, that means our emissions will be only 70 tons by 2030. So, that is the aim of this particular global methane pledge that we have signed, right. So, that is about the methane emissions. So, we have seen the context and then we have understood two types of emissions. Then we came to the methane. About the methane details you need to know. Sources of methane we have already discussed, and the role of microbes, specifically the biogenic compounds which are contributing for the methane emissions, and the study that has proved that there is a stability in the thermogenic methane, but there is an increase in biogenic methane, and then these areas are contributing more, right. So, and also we have seen about global methane pledge. Any doubts? Methane emission from biotic organisms, yeah, right. So, already answered this. Any doubts in this? Please do let me know if you have any confusion. Even after the session also, you will, do not close it and go for other subject immediately. Just try to spend 10-15 minutes, think about what we have discussed, understand the issue. You may be revising these factual things, you will easily remember this objective and all, but if you do not understand the issue, after few days you will forget. So, try to understand the issue, take some time to understand yourself, just think about what we have discussed, and then of course facts you can remember. So, it will be remember for you for a longer time, right. Yeah, great. Let us move to the next article, Eggshell rule. Eggshell rule. So, let me explain the context. There is a local court and then some national tribunal. Two organs were there and they have declared certain compensation for a victim. For example, I was a victim and I have filed a case at the local court and they have said that you will get this amount of money, right, and they have cited the Eggshell rule here. First, let us understand context. After understanding what actually is Eggshell rule, then you will understand the detail of this context. There were some local courts which they have given certain compensation citing the Eggshell rule, but Supreme Court said that they have not interpreted properly and this is not a right way, right. Now, we will understand what actually is the Eggshell rule, then we will come back to the context again, right. So, let us understand the Eggshell rule. For example, there are two persons, person A, person B, right, and a person has a grudge on these two persons, person A as well as person B. So, he has a hit with fist on the head of person A. With the same intensity, he also hit the head of person B with the same intensity. There is no difference in force, just assume it, right. So, here this person A is a normal person, normal in the sense like healthy person, and this person is having some brain disease or pre-injury to the head, right. Even though he do not know, this person do not know that he is already suffering from some head injuries or he is having weak, like eggshell here means weak. If you just press the egg, it will broken, that means what, it is a weaker, right. But this person do not know that this person's head is weaker and this person is stronger as a normal condition, right. So, the amount of money that person A need to spend on his treatment is lesser than person B. Do you agree this? Because this person is having already some disease. So, the amount of money that person B need to spend on his treatment is more than person A. Do you agree with this? Do let me know, because these are conceptual in nature, so you need to understand. So, if you do respond, I will understand that you understood properly, else I need to repeat it again, right. So, this is a normal person, this is some already existing disease. So, he has hit. So, compensation or the amount that he need to spend is more than this person A. Yeah, great. Now, this eggshell skull rule says that even this person do not know about this, the compensation to be paid, because compensation will be there. If there is some person is losing, there will be filing of case, right, and then they will evaluate the condition of the persons and accordingly compensation is given. For example, 1 lakh is given to this person and 1 lakh is insurance, say for example, 1 lakh is given to this person and 1 lakh is given to the same the person also. This is not equity, this is not the case. This person should be given more money than this person. That is eggshell skull rule. So, the rule says that the person who is already having back issues or whatever the disease issue, that person should get more compensation than we compare to the normal person. So, before giving compensation, for example, only person B is there, he has hit only person B, there is no person A, his brain is not in a good condition. So, compensation to be paid, this person should consider the eggshell skull rule, that he is already weak, so we need to give more money to them, right. So, that is how the compensation is paid, by including the eggshell skull rule, right. So, this is about the eggshell skull rule. I hope this is clear. Now, yeah, we have discussed all this eggshell skull rule. Now, let us come to the present case. Present case why Supreme Court has said, we will slowly coming back to the context. In 2005, Jyoti Devi, in 2005, a person Jyoti Devi was facing issue with the appendix. Appendix disease, you know, right. So, it is located here at the right side below your chest. So, this was removed, right. This was removed, and even after the surgery till 3-4 years, even after 4 years, she was still facing the painfulness in that particular portion, right, in that particular chest, she was still facing the this problem. After that, she went to after facing severe pain for continuously for a few years, she went to doctor, some other doctor, and it was proved that 2.5 centimeters some syringe was left inside. So, needle was left inside mistakenly by the doctors who were operated her during the appendix surgery, right. So, it was proved that a small needle of 2.5 centimeters were left in her stomach. Such a negligent thing has happened. Now, she went to the consumer court, she has filed the case. So, the local consumer forum has asked the hospital which has done the surgery to pay 5 lakhs to this person Devi, Jyoti Devi, right. So, the consumer forum has asked 5 lakhs to be paid by the hospital to the Jyoti Devi who was facing this issue. Now, the hospital has filed at the other consumer forum, the higher consumer forum, that compensation of 5 lakhs is higher. So, we cannot pay that, ours is mistaken, we were not aware what has happened. So, mistakenly we have done, it is not an intention one, right. Now, the consumer dispute has asked to pay only 1 lakh. Earlier consumer forum said 5 lakhs, but now the consumer forum has said that only pay 1 lakh, right. And again Jyoti Devi went for higher tribunal, National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. So, this is the highest one among the consumer protection bodies. So, this is the higher one. It said that no, it is not 5 lakhs, it is not 1 lakhs, it is 2 lakhs. So, they were changing the money based on their intention. So, now it said that it is 2 lakhs, not 1 lakh, not 5 lakh. Again the person Jyoti Devi went to the Supreme Court now, right. She directly went to Supreme Court after seeing all these things. Now, Supreme Court has listened this thing from her, and then it has said that you have to pay 5 lakhs. The Supreme Court has asked the hospital to pay 5 lakhs, right. And not only this, we need to see some funny thing also here, that the Supreme Court has said that eggshell skull rule is not at all valid in this case. I do not know, I mean Supreme Court has said that we do not know why eggshell skull rule has come or interpreted by this organization to pay compensation. There is no such case at all, because what eggshell skull rule says, it says that there should be some before the injury, there should be some weakness among that particular individual. She was fine, she was not having any pre-injuries in the stomach before the appendix operation, right. So it was just for the during the operation itself she faced the issue. Before that she does not have any weaker things in her stomach, right. So Eggshell skull rule is not at all valid in this case, but she was to be paid by 5 lakhs not because of Eggshell skull rule, because she has faced this 5 years and also wasted in fighting this case. Even if that is genuine, she has wasted and spent amount. So the 5 lakhs, the compensation has to be paid to the person. So that is what the Supreme Court has said, right. Isn't it? This is, it seems to be funny, but it is a very serious issue. Assume yourself in this particular position of Jyoti Devi. Such a huge mistake they have committed, such a negligence they have committed in this case. So you can also take such type of issues in your interviews, UPSC interviews. If they are asking you any question, you can, whatever the context is necessary, this is how happened in the medical negligence, so you can bring it on. Even if you are writing UPSC Civil Service mains also, you can bring it on as a case study, as an example, right. And even in prelims also they will ask you what is Eggshell skull rule and how it is being treated, how we need to take care, right, and what has happened recently. So whatever the questions may ask, they may ask you directly Jyoti Devi case recently seen in news, something like that they may ask you. Yes, Ranjan, NCDRC is also a government body, right, but see, only for Supreme Court you can directly go to Supreme Court if something of your fundamental rights are violated, or else you need to go to the local level courts. First you need to reach the local court, then High Court. So after final only you can go to the Supreme Court. Only if your fundamental rights are violated you can directly go to Supreme Court. That is why they have to, this person has reached first to the local court, then after one by one she reached the Supreme Court, right. So I hope this is clear. Any doubts in this, anyone? Even if you are having doubts after like video, you can comment in the comment section. So I am replying if some students is having doubts, right. So even if you are listening it again and still if you got doubt, you can comment there, right. Any doubts, please do respond, else we will move to the next article. Again, this is part of economy as well as polity, as I said, and very important, especially for those who are writing higher level of exams like state PSC group 1 level or civil services. This becomes important, and for lower level of exam you need to remember the article numbers and what it says, right. Of course everyone has to follow in a comprehensive manner. They need to understand the articles, the constitution things in clear manner, then only they will be able to remember, right. Yeah, great. Let's start with this article. This is little bit lengthy and try to understand. I will explain step by step, right. So you will be able to handle it. There has been a exchange between ruling party and then opposition, that India was able to grow the wealth, but we could not able to redistribute to the poor. So richer people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer. So rich people are getting richer and then poor people are getting poorer, because wealth is being generated by only the certain section of people. That is why there was an article, very big as well as very good article published by the Hindu yesterday, right. So Supreme Court also constituted some bench means a group of judges who will take care of this particular case. They are also going to check about the directive principles. We will come back to this point, don't worry, just understand the context that it is related to the wealth distribution. Yeah, let us move to the context. A little bit more context of this. Before understanding the wealth distribution and the articles related to it, let us understand some constitutional provisions. In our constitution there are 22 parts, and part 3 talks about the fundamental rights. Part 3 of our constitution. I am taking from very basic level, right. I could have discussed directly the wealth distribution and all, but you will not be able to understand it, and these articles are also very important, which I am going to tell, right. So please be focused and understand. And part 4 of constitution talks about the DPSPs, directive principles of state policies. Let me tell you briefly, fundamental rights are the rights given to the citizens, and even not only citizens, whoever are residing in India. So these fundamental rights are there to check the excess of government or parliament. So, the citizens or the people who are residing in the country should have certain rights, like right to equality. If for example I am from minority religion or minority caste, I should not be discriminated by the state and no person should discriminate me, right. So, that is my right. Those are justifiable in nature. That means if the right is violated, I can go to the court and directly ask that this government has discriminated me, this person has discriminated me. So, court will take action accordingly, right. They are justiciable. Justiciable means they are enforceable by the courts to take measures or to take punishment from the individuals who has contributed this crime. And in case of directive principles of state policy, which is part of our constitution under part 4, this directive principles are guidelines given for the government, whoever is ruling. It is a guideline to the government to follow. It is not mandatory to government to follow. It is a guidelines, voluntary guidelines for the government to follow in a certain manner. For example, our income is earning, our income is increasing for certain individuals. So, these articles of directive principles of state policy says that the wealth should be taken from rich and should be redistributed to the people. Can anyone tell one measure where the wealth can be redistributed from the rich people to the poor people? Anyone? Can anyone tell me? It is a tax. So, tax can be a such measure, right. So, we can impose tax on rich people and then it is collected and it is redistributed to the poor people in terms of subsidies or schemes, right. So, this is the role of fundamental rights and directive principles. I am not discussing all these things. It will take more than 4 hours to teach fundamental rights and directive principles. So, this is a difference. Fundamental rights are for given to the individuals to enjoy their rights as part of their citizens, and then directive principles are guidelines given to the government to implement it for a social order, so for a good social order in the country in coming years, right. So, this is the difference, basic difference between the fundamental rights and directive principles. Now, let us go a little bit more about it before coming to the context of wealth distribution, why Supreme Court is considering and all. So, the constitution, in the constitution itself there is a contradiction. In the constitution itself there is a contradiction. For example, fundamental rights are given to individuals. For example, I am earning money or I am following, I am having my own wealth. So, it is my own hard work, right, is not it? Now, currently right to property is removed, I will come to that point, but when the constitution is framed in 1950, right to property is a fundamental right. Right to property is a fundamental right under article 19(1)(f) as well as article 31. So, these two articles were giving right to my property. If I earn something, nobody can take out of it, even government cannot take it. So, this is part of our fundamental right. And in DPSPs, the constitution itself again saying that the wealth generated should be redistributed. It is saying that whoever earns the property their own, and it is also saying that the wealth should be redistributed. How is this possible? Isn't it this contradiction? Please do respond for this question. Isn't it this a contradiction? Have you understood this contradiction, that fundamental rights are protecting the property of the individual and then directive principles again saying that you need to redistribute to the government? Isn't this a contradiction? Yeah. So, it is a contradiction. I hope you are clear with this, right. So, this is about this particular thing. So, fundamental right was having 19(1)(f) was having fundamental right to property and 31 as well, and also great, and also article 39(b) and article 39(c), which is part of directive principles. This is part of fundamental right and these two are part of directive principles. So, these two directive principles says that should be redistributed to serve the common good. So, these two now are acting as a contradictory, right. So, fundamental rights one side and directive principles are contradictory, hitting each other. Now, government has taken certain measures. We will see what has happened in the post independence history immediately after our independence, right. Yes, now it is a constitutional right. I will come to that point also, right to property, what is the present situation. I will come to that point. Now, understand what has happened immediately after the independence. You all know that we were having Jamindari system, Raitwari system, Malwari system, where there was a land within few hands. For example, if you are having 40 crore people, 95% of land was occupied by just 1 lakh of people, right, in those years when the independence has come. So because of the caste, because of religion, because of other things, the status and all, almost 95% of land were occupied by only 1% of population those days. That's why government has decided that we need to take out this property from the rich people, and then we need to redistribute to the poor people, right, because poverty is very high immediately after independence, and the government is also not having resources. Almost Britishers have exploited all our resources. We don't have resources, and the property are held by just 1% of the rich people. Now how we can protect the poor people? That's why government has realized that this is not a correct situation that we are facing currently. We need to redistribute the property. For that, there is a fundamental right to property, isn't it? It is protecting the people who are having this property. So they will go to the Supreme Court and they will challenge the government initiatives, right. So this contradictory was there. That's why government, the parliament those years, in those times, they have bought the amendment to the constitution. Amendment means change to the constitution, right. So they have bought the change to the constitution. These are all the articles that has been inducted. Article 31 was right to property, right. Right to property was there in those years. So they have amended, they have added new provisions. Article 31A they have added, right. To 31 they have added a slight change, an addition to Article 31 in form of 31A. Here this laws made for acquisition of estates. Estate means a large amount of land area where there is a boundary and cultivating agriculture, and then there is a big house which are being held by one small family, and there are many of the people forcefully being worked on the agriculture field. So those are called as estates. There were number of estates for those Jamindars, Raitwars, whoever was holding the land. So to take away these estates, government has added Article 31A. The government or parliament has added to acquisite estates, and no courts can question this, right. They have added said that acquisition can be made and shall not be void on the grounds that it is violation of the fundamental rights. Fundamental right is there, right to property. So we are taking away the estates from rich people, it should not be contradictory to the fundamental rights. That provision was added. Similarly, Article 31B, one more provision was added after estates. They were added one more provision that whatever the elements, whatever the measures the government is going to take, we are going to keep all these things in 8th schedule. When the constitution was framed, only 8 schedules were there in our constitution, and the 9th schedule was added in the first amendment itself, that in case we put any provisions in this schedule like estates, agriculture land, whatever we keep in this 9th schedule, those 9th schedule provisions cannot be questioned in the Supreme Court or courts, right. So after taking away the estates without violating the fundamental rights, they have added 9th schedule that whatever put in 9th schedule cannot be questioned in the courts. That was there, but it was quashed in 2007. After many years they have quashed in Coelho case, IR Coelho case. This is a very important, many times been asked in the exam. This is related to the 9th schedule. So here 9th schedule says that no courts can question, but Supreme Court has come up with the Coelho case that yes, we can question. You cannot take away the judicial review. Whatever activities you do, it will be scrutinized by the judges or courts, right. So you cannot take away that judicial review concept. That was added in the 31B, but it was quashed by the Supreme Court. Similarly, Article 31C was added. Please do understand, I hope you are following. Article 31C was added through 25th constitutional amendment in 1971 during Indira Gandhi Prime Minister. They have added one more article. 31A and 31B are added by first Constitutional Amendment Act, you have to remember. 31C is added by 25th Constitutional Amendment Act. And what they have added? We have seen 39B and 39C articles of directive principles, we have seen here, right. So, article 39B and 39C, which aim to redistribute of the wealth. That courts cannot question it, right. So, this is the article 31A, 31B and 30. Clear? I just explained about article 31C, there was small problem which was added from 25th Constitutional Amendment Act. So, it said that article 39B and 39C, which are aiming to redistribute of the property from rich people to the these articles when we are implementing, here we means government, when government is implementing, they cannot question that fundamental rights are violated. So, this was passed in the is this clear? Government measures, government amendment in 31A, 31B and 31C. If this is clear. Okay, no? Okay, now it is resolved. So, let me briefly go back to the article that we have discussed, that there is a debate on redistribution of the wealth currently. So, now we have come up with the, from very background onwards, we have seen what actually are fundamental rights and directive principles. We have seen the some provisions of fundamental rights, that is right to property, which is protecting the rich people to hold property, and directive principles are asking to redistribute the wealth. Article 39 B and 39C are asking to redistribute. So, they are contradictory, and government has realized that we do not have proper resources, we need to take certain changes in the constitution itself to redistribute the wealth. That is why they have brought 3 important articles under the directive principles of fundamental rights. They have made certain changes in the fundamental rights, article 31A, 31B and 39C. So, 31A and 31B are first and second constitutional amendment, where they talk about the acquisition of estates and then putting certain things in 9th schedule to evade from the Supreme Court or the court's judgments, and then 25th constitutional amendment was brought in 1971. This give more prominence to directive principles. So, whenever government is employing or deploying article 39B and 39C, no other fundamental rights will have a prominence. Is this clear till what we have discussed? Please do respond. Is this clear now? Until here we still have the article. So, now some Supreme Court judgments will come, which are very important for our exam. We still have the article, but do let me know if this is clear until till now. Is this clear till now? So, we will move ahead after this once you respond. Great. So, we understood what the government has brought the changes to implement the directive principles to evade the fundamental rights, right. Now, let us see what Supreme Court has come up with. Supreme Court has observed certain things in different cases. There is a now debate. Government is saying that directive principles are supreme than fundamental rights because we are implementing the redistribution of wealth, and the individuals are asking, the rich people are asking that no, directive principles are just guidelines, fundamental rights are very prominent, right to property is our fundamental right, so we need to protect our property, government has no such role to take away our property. So, there was a clash, number of people have filed cases in the Supreme Court, and they have now Supreme Court what it said is very important for us. So, here Supreme Court in various cases have seen which should be given more important. Should we give more importance to fundamental rights or should we give more importance to the directive principles? So, here in Golaknath case 1967, very important, Golaknath case who has filed against the government, his name is Golaknath. In 1967, Supreme Court has observed that fundamental rights cannot be abridged to dilute the implementation of directive principles. So, it said to the government that if you want to implement the directive principles, they should not contradict to the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are superior than directive principles. That is what the Supreme Court has observed in Golaknath case. So, it has strike down the provisions of the government which has taken measures to redistribute the wealth, right. Now, again the debate kept on doing, again government has brought some changes and all. So, in 1973 finally Supreme Court has said that whatever government is doing is a valid thing. So, Article 31C, it was upheld the validity. So, what Article 31C has made, that to implement articles in the 39B and 39C to redistribute the wealth by taking away it from the rich people is a valid. Supreme Court has said that it is a valid, but it is subjected to the judicial review. You cannot keep courts away. You are saying that you want to redistribute the wealth, fine, that is correct only, but to keep courts away to recheck it is not valid. So, half the article was accepted and half of the article that was made to keep away courts was quashed, right. So, this is what Supreme Court has done in Keshwananda Bharati case, and also basic structure doctrine, that is other part, I am not discussing that, right. And the next again in Minerva Mills case. So, here in Keshwananda Bharati case what Supreme Court has said, directive principles of Article 31C is superior than fundamental rights. Now, they have accepted that directive principles are having higher position. It has reversed the Golaknath case which said fundamental rights are superior. Now, in Minerva Mills case Supreme Court has said that no, there is no superiority or inferiority concept, there should be balance and go in a hand in hand. So, by cases we will check if fundamental rights are superior or directive principles are superior. It is not rigid, no fundamental rights or directive principles are superior, it should be go hand in hand based on the need, right. So, after seeing these things, also government in 1978 there was a change, there was an emergency till 1977. So, Indira Gandhi ji was kept aside and the new party Janata government has come into the picture. They are also socialist, right. Those people are, those times the politicians are facing lot of things, they know the reality of what they fight for independence and all. So, their main aim was to service people, unlike the present politicians. So, when the government was changed in 1978, they have brought an amendment, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Here they have removed the what you call right to property as a fundamental right, they have removed it, Article 19(1)(f) and then Article 31. These two were removed and a new constitutional right was added under Article 300A. So, now right to property is not a fundamental right, there will not be any issue at all. They have made just a constitutional article. It is part of constitutional right, but not the fundamental right. So, now directive principles and fundamental rights will not even contradictory, because right to property is no more a fundamental right. So, this is what happened. Now, the current debate is, you might have known many reports has given including Oxfam and all, rich people are getting richer, poor people are getting poorer. So, the initiatives that we need to take is to redistribute the wealth, right, we need to redistribute the wealth, but this is against the capitalism. We are in a capitalism world where business, industry, private persons are playing more role than government. So, the opposition is criticizing the government at present that because of you there is a wealth, rich people are getting richer, poor people are getting poorer. So, for that Hindu, the article also suggests certain things like putting more tax and then taking corporate social responsibility. There are certain measures which Hindu has suggested to promote the redistribution of wealth, right. So, that is about the redistribution of wealth concept. Any doubts in this? So, we have seen a very detailed discussion of the contradiction of fundamental rights and then directive principles. Of course, this was given in the article itself very clearly. This is part of our static part also. If you are doing fundamental rights in Lakshmikant, you might be aware about it. Great. Thanks for the response. Now, let us move to the next article. I think Malini has asked in few sessions back about the nutrient based subsidy scheme. Isn't it? If I am not wrong, Malini, I think you have asked this particular article to discuss, and this was there in news today in the Indian Express, right. And I said also that we will have this particular article in the coming days. Okay, fine. So, this nutrient based subsidy scheme, there was an article in the Indian Express that balanced fertilization. So, farmers are using the lot of fertilizers, right. So, farmers have a lot of fertilizers which are being used, NPK, urea, all those things. Now, the farmers are not aware because of their lack of literacy or lack of awareness, they were not using the fertilizers in a proper manner, right. They were using a lot of urea because they think that it is increasing the productivity, right. So, there is a certain elements which are involved. We will discuss those things, then we will come back to the nutrient based subsidy scheme. Before knowing nutrient based subsidy scheme, you need to aware about what is happening, what was happened earlier, right. So, these are important. So, the article says that balanced fertilization, I mean the uses of all the types of fertilizers will be the big issue in the next coming government, whoever may be elected, either BJP, either Congress or any other government. This balanced fertilization will be a big issue in the coming new government, right. And this scheme was launched by Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, right. So, before discussing the nutrient based subsidy scheme, let us see very basic things, like we all need food to live, right. So, we all need food to have food to eat daily. Similarly, plants also need certain nutrients, they need nitrogen, right, they need phosphorus, these are like food, but not all the soils will have a sufficient amount of nutrients, right. So, naturally soils also give certain amount of nutrients, but you all know that we have wasted lot of things because of climate change, tilling the land continuously, the amount of nutrients present in the soil has reduced, but these nutrients are food for plants. So, if you want to grow the plants, if you want to have food from the plants, you need to give food to the plants as well, right. So, these fertilizers are the food like thing for the plants. And balanced fertilization, we have number of fertilization, I mean fertilizers, primary fertilizers, secondary fertilizers and micro fertilizers as well. Primary fertilizers are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, NPK. If you are a person from agriculture background, you might be aware, observe what your parents or grandparents were using. So, the primary fertilizers are nitrogen, phosphate and potassium along with the urea. These were the first required, the primary required for plants. Apart from that, plants also require some other fertilizers, those are called as secondary fertilizers. This include sulfur, calcium, magnesium. Sulfur, calcium, magnesium are major secondary nutrients. And then there are micronutrients, iron, zinc, copper, magnesium, boron and molybdenum. Like how you need different types of food, isn't it like we only consume rice, we need wheat, we need fruits, we need vegetables, we consume different types of foods. Similarly, plants also need variety of nutrients. They are categorized primary, secondary and micronutrients, right. So, based on the soil, based on the crop, we need to use all these things in a balanced manner, right, but presently we are using more of primary nutrients, fine. So, this is the basic thing. Now, the present case, yes, we are using the primary fertilizers, but the present case is that we are using it in a ratio of very important, this to be remembered, the present and the ideal condition. So NPK, understand here, focus here, NPK, the ideally we need to use 4:2:1 ratio. For example, you have 1 acre of land and you are using potassium 1 kg to the plants, to all your 1 acre you are using 1 kg potassium, and phosphorus you need to use 2 kg, phosphorus you need to use 2 kg, and nitrogen you need to use 4 kg. This is the ideal condition, this is the ideal condition if you want to get the good productivity. But what we are using the currently on an average in India, ratio is 11.8:4.6:1. That means when we are using, when the farmers are using 1 kg potassium, they are using 4.6 kgs of phosphorus. They have to use 2 kg, but they are using 4.6 because they are not aware. They are thinking that we need to use more fertilizers. Similarly, nitrogen is being used 12 times, so 12 kgs they are using. So this is a bad ratio that we are following, but the ideal ratio is 4:2:1. This has been many times asked in the exam, right. So this is the present condition of utility of our farmers with regard to the primary fertilizers. Now along with that, they are also using the urea. Actually urea is the dominant one. If you see, urea is the most used fertilizer. If you go to the agriculture lands, you will see the urea being used innumerably. So urea, along with that they need to use NPK in a 4:2:1 ratio, but they are being using in a mismatch, right. And urea is also should not be used more, that will also harm to the plants. You can see here, urea consists of 46% of nitrogen. Again urea is nothing but 46% of nitrogen. They are coming back to this ratio again. Because of use of urea, this nitrogen content is being increased. I am explaining you the present situation in India. Before going why they have bought the nutrient based subsidy scheme and all, you need to understand the existing situation in India, right. So they were using the urea, excess and NPK. Now because they were using lot of urea, government has come up with the certain initiative called neem coated urea. Here the government, as farmers are dependent on urea a lot, government was using the price cap. So urea per kg should not go above certain amount, or urea should be given with certain subsidies to the farmers, right. So urea was, as a main farmers are using and it is required, government was supporting the farmers. But what was happening, this urea which was subsidized and given to the farmers, the industry people are buying urea from the farmers at the lower cost, because this industry people have to buy from the market double the price of this, right. This urea, for example 10 rupees, they need to pay here 20 rupees. That is why they are not buying from market, because subsidy is only given for the farmers, not for the other people. So this urea is being shifted to the industries from the farmers, and farmers used to sell because they want money, right. So this was happening. That is why government has introduced the neem coated urea. After agriculturists have introduced that this is the efficient one. So the urea is mixed with the neem. Neem you all know, very popular. It is mixed with the neem and then given to the farmers. The urea now they are giving by mixing with neem, and neem coated urea is not useful for industries. They can't use, because that will have some reactions and all, it won't be efficient. So neem coated urea is efficient for farmers but not efficient for industries. So government has bought this, and because of this the shift of urea from farmers to industries were also curtailed. Similarly with the neem coating, the productivity of utility of nitrogen in the plants are also increased, that was also noted, right. So this was happened, and improved nitrogen use efficiency because of neem coated, right. Government, what has happened after that, because of political reasons, as more farmers want cheaper urea, they want to pay less amount of money to get that urea. So because of political reasons, government, even though that industry is now curtailed, but still they kept reducing the bag of urea at the different states, including Punjab, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, all the states has kept reducing the costs, including the central government also reduce the cost of per bag of urea. What is the idea actually? The main aim is to ask farmers to use all these fertilizers in a proper manner, that we need to use nitrogen, phosphorus along with calcium, micronutrients and all. But what government is doing, if farmers pay more for urea, then their utility will decrease, but if they want to pay less, they will buy more and throw it on the agriculture field, alright. So because of government reducing prices of urea, farmers still are increasing the urea. When it was initially bought, when the when they have recognized in 2010 that urea is being used more and they have bought the nutrient based subsidy scheme, we will see that also. The urea has decreased, the utility of urea has decreased, but immediately after 4 or 5 years it has gone rise again, because government has reduced the cost because of political reasons, right. So have you understood till now? We will now discuss nutrient based subsidy scheme. Please do respond. We have discussed about the basic context, and then we have seen what plants actually required, the primary, secondary and micronutrients, and then we have seen the present situation in India, how much we are using, how much farmers are using, and then government has supported the urea with subsidy and all, but that is being shifted to industries, and then government bought neem coated urea, but even after bringing neem coated urea, they have reduced the cost of urea per bag. So that is why farmers again started increasing increasing of urea, right. So is this clear till now? Please do respond. Now we will move to the nutrient based subsidy scheme. Once you understood this, then this will be easy. After this article there is a factual thing, we can easily complete it, it is not a bigger one, right. Please do respond, I am waiting for your response so that I can go ahead with the fine. I hope this is clear till now. Yeah, great. Now let us move to the nutrient based subsidy scheme, right. So let us understand the mechanism. These are private players, companies who are producing fertilizers. So companies producing fertilizers, industries. This is government and this is farmers. Yeah, this is farmers, alright. So let us understand with an example, you will get more clarity rather than explaining theoretically, right. So they are manufacturing the fertilizers and they are having, for example, 10 rupee per kg, they are incurring the cost of 10 rupee per kg plus 2 rupees they may ask for profit. So farmers have to pay now 12 rupees, right, but farmers feel this is a higher rate, right. They are getting urea as a cheaper, 1 kg, for example, urea they are getting 1 rupee per kg. So will they use this? Will they use this NPK and other fertilizers? They won't use, they will keep on using urea, right. So now what government will do here? Government will give support to these industries, that we are giving certain 100 crores for example, subsidy, government is giving subsidy. So here as the government got subsidy, they will reduce it to 8 rupees itself, because they got these 4 rupees from government, they are not in loss because they are getting from government. Now they will sell it to 8 rupees for farmers, right. As farmers get it for lesser price, they will shift to the fertilizers which are available now from the private companies. This is the mechanism, fine. But now the subsidy what government is giving for private companies should not be equal, because for example the nitrogen NPK are there. So for example potassium is more important for example, and this has different nutrient components, and whatever the companies are there, not single company is there, there are number of companies, company A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So there are number of companies, not all the companies will produce equal amount of nutrients, the quality of fertilizers may vary, right. So that is why government has launched nutrient based subsidy scheme. We will not give equal subsidy to all the companies who are producing fertilizers, we will check the nutrients in the fertilizer that you are producing, we will check the nutrients, and based on the high quality of nutrients we will give you the subsidy. For example, company A nutrients are very high and then company B nutrients are very less. So government will give 100 crores for this and then they will give only 50 crore for it, right. So whatever the quality high nutrients, they will pay more. Now what the companies will do? Can someone answer this? What the companies will do? What the companies will do in this situation if government is getting giving less amount of money for those nutrients which are not in high quality? Tell me what government will do. So if you answer this, I will understand that you are following. Increases the quality, not quantity. Quality of nutrients will be increased. Yes, Malini, yes, correct. So quality will be increased because they will get more subsidy, and this company B, even if they are giving farmers at 12 rupees and company A will be giving at 8 rupees only. So farmers will try to buy from A only, not B. So B will be in losses. So these companies will compete each other and they will try to give more nutrient quality, and then they will get more money from government and they can buy it cheaper for farmers. So more farmers will buy from their company, right. So this is about the nutrient based subsidy scheme. So they will be giving different subsidies for different fertilizers. So whichever quality is higher, they will get more subsidy, right. So this aim is to shift the farmers from urea towards the other nutrients, right. Urea was kept aside. Urea is not part of this nutrient based subsidy scheme. Urea was directly price cap and then government is giving directly to the farmers, right. With the, even if companies want to give, their price cap is there, no companies can sell beyond that. If that is happening, they will take fine from the company. So urea was kept out of this, and government main intention is to make farmers shift towards proper NPK and also micronutrients, the calcium, all those things. That is why nutrient based subsidy scheme was bought, right. So this is about the nutrient based subsidy scheme mechanism, fine. But now what has happened of this particular scheme, right? What has happened to this particular scheme? Initially it was successful, it was launched in 2009-10. This scheme was launched by government in 2009-10. Initially it was successful, the farmers aimed to shift out of urea, right. But NBS failed because they have excluded urea. If urea was there in this particular scheme, the scheme would have been successful because urea was getting more cheaper than NPK. Again farmers are using more fertilizer from urea itself, not of NPK and other micronutrients. So this was a challenging. Initially the farmers tried to shift, but as urea is getting less cost, they are using urea only, and the NBS scheme was not very successful after that, right. Now what is happening now? As I said, because of political reasons, government keep on reducing the urea cost. The farmer belt, especially Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, where agriculture is the main thing, the governments across states as well as center try to keep reducing the urea cost, and this nutrient based subsidy scheme is getting wasted because farmers are only using urea rather than shifting to the other nutrients provided by the companies through the government support. So this is what happening. So the same thing we have seen. So new urea, again one more here, diammonium phosphate, one more fertilizers variety has come up into the picture. This DAP, diammonium phosphate, the rate has got reduced. Government again, this was also being used after farmers shifting from urea to other fertilizers. DAP was found, diammonium phosphate, and this was getting cheaper and farmers shifted from urea to DAP. Now again this has become urea. So here the intention is farmers should not use the single fertilizer, they need to diversify, they need to use all the nutrients which are required for the plants. That was the actual intention, that should be the ideal criteria. But whatever the prices that are low, farmers are shifting. So what we can do? Now we can do that, it should be, the prices should not be capped, rather it should be open to the free market, or make it as an ideal case. All the fertilizers should be paid with the equal amount and farmers should be able to spend it, right. If you are keeping urea less, farmers will do that. If you are keeping DAP price less, then farmers shift. to that particular thing. So launch this nutrient based subsidy scheme, be available with it, but prices should always be adjusted according to the farmer's best utility, right. So this is about the nutrient based subsidy scheme. Yeah, right. So the main intention was farmers should use all the nutrients properly, equally. They should not use only single fertilizer. So that is what the nutrient based subsidy scheme aimed, to shift the farmers from urea to other nutrients, but that was not successful because urea price was being reduced, right. So is this clear? Yeah, uniformity in prices, but see, the uniformity of prices can be maintained by the companies or industries, but government has to give subsidies according to that, because nitrogen may be costly, potassium may be little bit cheaper, or phosphorus may be little bit higher, or other micronutrients. So there is a different prices incurred by the companies. So government has to consider the prices, and accordingly they need to give more subsidies for the fertilizers which is higher in cost. So if nitrogen is cost, 100 crore subsidy is given, phosphorus is cheaper, only 20 crore subsidy is given. So these companies will diversify their production, and accordingly farmers will also be diversified in their utility, right. So that is the mechanism of nutrient based subsidy scheme and the present criteria. Next article. So today's session was little bit lengthy, but you have to understand the issue. If you keep mugging up this nutrient based subsidy scheme, that these fertilizers are covered, urea is not covered, and then which ministry has launched, when it is launched. So if you keep on mugging up what is the ideal ratio, if you keep on mugging up, how will you remember this many amount of facts? You cannot remember. So understand issue, what is the issue behind it, then understand why government has bought this, what is the farmers are using, what is the current ratio of NPK. So all these things you need to understand in an issue based manner rather than mugging up the facts. So that is my intention, to make you understand. Fine. Yeah. Next article, last before article, the next article is very small one. This is a little bit to be able to understand as well. Okay. Voting of accused persons. Last week Amritpal Singh, he is an accused in Khalistan movement. So Khalistan is a movement where certain terrorist people, are terrorist in the sense we call them terrorist, even government. So those people want Punjab as a separate country. It is already a state, but they want Punjab of India as well as Punjab region is also there, West Punjab is with Pakistan. So they want a separate country. So certain people, Khalistan movement has been started against governments way back, right. Even Operation Blue Star, where Indira Gandhi has under the Indira Gandhi, our military has even killed certain people in Gurudwara, right. So this person who is already in jail, he want to participate in the elections as an MP. So he want to contest in the elections, right. So that is why the article covers about the people who can contest from jail, but they cannot vote from jail, right. So we will see the reason also why it was the case. So this Amritpal Singh, who is in jail now, he can contest in the election. He has the right to contest because he is not to prove at the guilt, right. Supreme Court has not pronounced yet that he is accused. So he is just accused, but he is not the person who is told with that he was related with this crime, right. It was not proved yet. So that is what I want to tell. Accused means just doubt, but prove after proving, so he was a criminal, right. So he is just accused but not proved as a guilt yet by the court. So he can contest even from the jail, and nomination can be done by someone else. So this is also one important fact. Nomination, the person who want to contest, no need to put the nomination by the same person who is contesting. On behalf of him, someone else can also be file the nomination. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, as I am from Andhra Pradesh, I can take this example recently which was happened. Former Chief Minister Nara Chandrababu Naidu, he did not file the nomination directly, rather his wife has filed the nomination in the in Chittoor, some constituency, right. So Kuppam, yeah. So from Kuppam, his wife has put the nomination papers on behalf of him. So this person, even in jail, some person else can file the nomination on behalf of him, but he cannot contest in the elections because he is in jail. we will see from where this was derived. He can participate in election, but he cannot vote in the election, the persons who are in jail. Now let us see the right to contest in the elections. The Representation of People Act, many times we have discussed, where the elections things are taken care by this, talks about the disqualification of the certain members who commit certain offences, right. So whoever the person, for example person A has committed some crime, some civil, even civil also like corruption and all, and he was put in jail for 2 years. He has the offence rate is up to 2, I mean he was put in jail for 2 years. So this person A cannot contest in elections for this 2 years plus 6 years from coming out of this jail. So total 8 years, 2 years that he was in jail and then 6 years after coming out of the jail. So this Representation of People Act says that a person if committed a crime and then the sentence was more than 2 years, then that person cannot contest for 2 years plus also 6 years. So this is the rule being derived by the Representation of People Act. I hope you are following. Yeah, so I hope you are following. So this right to contest, the Representation of People Act is saying that person who has been put in jail for 2 years or more cannot be contested for 2 years plus 6 more years. That was a punishment for the persons who is under crime. Also this Representation of People Act says that some other crimes, I am not listing it out, there are number of some 10 to 15 cases were there. I hope you are following. For any crime 2 years has to be the sentence, right. If not the person can be disqualified. So at least 2 years the person should be in jail, so to be banned from the elections for 8 years. Also even if that is not 2 years, even if the person is involved in untouchability, caste discrimination, religious enmity, even if that is not for 2 years, even for 6 months jail also, that can also be disqualified. So there are 2 criteria to be disqualified for a person. One is if the person in some case was put in jail for 2 years or more, cannot be contested in election for 6 years plus the 2 years also. Along with that there are also some specific crimes mentioned in the Representation of People Act like untouchability, promoting untouchability, sati, right, or religious hatredness. In that cases, even if it is not 2 years also, even for 6 months also, that person will be barred from elections for 6 years, right. So there are 2 things which the persons can be disqualified from the elections. Now there are exemptions, there are also exemptions that can be given to participate in the elections even if the person was convicted in the crime. That is power with the Election Commission of India. So Election Commission of India can come, I mean take out that bar. Say for example a person has committed crime for 6 months and he was in his home on bail. Now Election Commission of India can exempt him. So this exemption was derived from Representation of People Act. So there was an example also, few years back Sikkim chief minister, he was a chief minister, right, he was barred from elections because he was in jail for 6 months or 1 year, sorry, it is 1 year, he was in jail for 1 year for promoting some specific criteria mentioned in this 10 or 15 criterias. So he was in jail, but Election Commission of India has given exemption to him to participate in the elections and he won the elections also, right. So this was an exemption, right. And also Supreme Court give one more exemption, that until unless the person is convicted, that means he is proved guilty. If he is in jail but he is in trial, still it was not pronounced, those cases also the person can be contested. So this is the 2 exemption given to those persons. Now what about the right to vote? Any person, any citizen of India are free to participate in the elections, the 2 frame right to vote. But there is one criteria which was restricted. If any person in jail at the time of elections, if any person is in jail, that person is not having right to vote. So this is the contradictory. You are allowing the person to contest in the election, but you are not allowing the person to vote. If that person is in jail, so he cannot vote at all in that elections. So this is what section 62 of Representation of People Act says, right. So this is one important provision So, people who are in jail at the time of elections can contest in elections, but they cannot vote, right. So, this is the important thing, and there is one exemption. There is a preventive detention case. For example, person A is about to commit a crime. There is a doubt among the police that this person may commit crime in the coming few days. So, this person was kept locked in the home itself. Some police security has kept here and the person was locked inside the home, right. So, this person was allowed to vote. If it is a preventive detention, then it is allowed for vote, but if he is in jail, then it is not allowed for vote. So, this is the exemption, right. Any doubt in this? You need to know from this who can contest in the elections, who cannot contest in the elections, who can vote, who cannot vote. So, this is a factual thing from Representation of People Act, right. Is this clear? Last article, very small article, we will go to the facts and we will solve the questions. Some interesting questions are there. Based on your understanding, we will see how you can answer these questions. People who will understand can able to answer it. If it is factually mugging up, then it is very difficult. So, last article, phishing attacks. India is one of the key. There was a report released by Verizon Business, a New Jersey based private company. A report was released, 2024 data breach investigation report. This report also you need to remember who has released. Verizon Business, a New Jersey based private company. This has said that India is one of the top countries which are contributing for phishing attacks, which were affected by the phishing attacks, not contributing, rather affected by phishing attacks. Now, what is this phishing? It is a cyber crime where a link, a message or anything is sent to your mobile or email or your laptop as a genuine one. It seems to be genuine, but once you click, all your data will be go to that particular person who has sent that link, right. So, it is a cyber crime which will send a legitimate, it seems to be a legitimate message or link, but it is a to extract your information. So, once you click that, all the data will be going to that person and they can use those, and they can also take all your money from your bank based on your personal data. So, the study said that phishing attacks has been increased over the companies, the employees, like for example, any company A, Infosys, TCS, whatever may be, the phishing activities on those employees who are working in the companies has increased, right. And this is mainly was dominant by what you call yes. So, espionage. This is for espionage. Espionage means to take information of that company. So, here this company which is being, the employees being subjected to phishing was done maybe by some other company to reduce the competition, right. So, if this information of this company is known to this company, they can harm this company and they can develop this company itself, right. So, that is what the report has proved. Very small article. Yeah, thanks for the response. Let us move to the factual pointers. There are some 4-5 facts you need to. This is a very popular one, you might have been seen in social media also, that AstraZeneca, which was a private company which produced AZD1222 vaccine in the UK. It is produced in UK, but in India it was manufactured with the name Covishield by Serum Institute of India, right. So, AstraZeneca has produced a vaccine for COVID-19 AZD1222 that was remanufactured in India by Serum Institute of India with permission. They will pay some money to the AstraZeneca and they have manufactured with the name Covishield. And this AstraZeneca in UK court has confessed that there is a disease called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, TTS. Even it is difficult to pronounce name, so I will shortly call it as a TTS. AstraZeneca has confessed that this vaccine is very rare, in very rare case causes TTS. TTS is a situation where when vaccine is put into your body, there will be low level of platelets. In our body approximately 3 to 5 lakh platelets should be there. But because of this vaccine, this will be reduced and blood clotting may happen. Blood clotting means a thick blood clotting within your blood flow, right. So, that is causing the TTS and it may sometimes lead to death as well, right. So, this was confessed by AstraZeneca. Okay. Next one, Apple faces allegation of using blood minerals. So they will ask you in the exam what are blood minerals. So you will answer something else. There will be options which suits to mimic you and get the wrong answer. So know this, what are these blood minerals. So anyone have seen KGF movie? Yeah, blood clots, right Swarupa? Have anyone seen the KGF movie? You might have seen most of the very popular movie which was released, KGF 1 and 2. So blood minerals are those minerals extracted from the regions which are in violation of human rights, right, violence and then human rights, conflicts, from those, using those people who are in conflict, but so that they will get in a very less amount. For example, if a country is in a conflict, they are not, the people are not even getting food to eat, what they will do? They will accept even for 10 rupees, 50 rupees to work for the whole day. So in these regions, if the minerals are being extracted using these people, that is called as, those minerals which are extracted using these situations are called as blood minerals, and Apple was facing such accusation, right. So these are blood minerals, fine, very small topic of course, but it is important. Next one, parties to UNFCCC. So we have seen conference of parties, UNFCCC was launched in 1992, right. Now all these parties which were signed new collective quantified goal on climate finance. Let me explain you with examples. As we have discussed industrial revolution today itself, there are certain countries which were benefited like USA and European countries, and developing countries like India, China or some other poor countries of Africa, they were not able to, they did not contribute for climate change, but they were the sufferers now the most. That is why under Paris Agreement, UNFCCC COP 15, right, it was COP 15, it is not here, COP 21 not 15, COP 21 conference of parties which met in 2015. 2015 conference of parties 21, they met and launched new collective quantified goal on climate finance, and this aimed to support finance for the developing and underdeveloped countries like India, China and African countries, because rich countries were the ones who are contributing climate change. They have aimed to launch $100 billion every year to support the developing countries. Now they have met it and they are discussing how to implement it, right. So remember this, your new collective quantified goal on climate finance was launched through COP 21 in 2015 under UNFCCC Paris Agreement, and the aim is to mobilize $100 billion every year to support the poor countries, right. Next one, Zimbabwe has launched a new currency called ZIG, Zimbabwe gold. The new currency of Zimbabwe is Zimbabwe gold. In shortcut it is called as ZIG, right. So it is called as ZIG. You need to remember which country has launched. Next one, paleontologists from Argentina have discovered new dinosaurs species called Chexorosus necul. So they will give this name and they will ask you what is this, right, Chexorosus necul, right. This is a dinosaurs, ancient dinosaur species which was lived 19 million years ago, fine, factual thing, just remember it is found in Argentina. Next, last fact, India has adjusted windfall tax. Let's explain about windfall tax, then we will come to the context. Windfall tax is a tax on specific industries like steel or petroleum, whatever may be, in case there is a sudden surge of profits because of various reasons. For example, petroleum, because of Iran war and all, has got costlier, and a company was already having lot of petroleum, now market prices has higher. So the petroleum that they bought for 10 rupees, now they are selling it as 20 rupees, 30 rupees. So they are gaining sudden profit because of the certain market condition. So to collect the tax from this industry, specific industries which are earning more profit, that tax is called as windfall tax. Windfall means a sudden surge in profit, right. Now windfall tax on petroleum crude has been reduced by India. How much it is not necessary, just remember what is windfall tax, fine. So that is about today's session. Any doubts? Please do respond. We will move to the practice questions. Okay. First question, what is this was asked in UPSC 2021 Civil Services Prelims. Thank you Santosh for the response. Let us see the question. What is the position of right to property in India? Currently it was asked in Civil Service 2021. Legal right available to the citizens only. Legal right available to any person, that means from India anyone whoever is staying. Fundamental rights available to citizens only. Neither fundamental right nor legal rights. So what is the answer for this? First thing, it is not any more fundamental right, so you can remove that. See, constitutional rights also have certain legal status, that means some act was there related to right to property, right. So you can take this both constitutional as well as legal right, so you can eliminate this one. Neither fundamental right nor legal right, so they are also saying not legal right also, this can also be eliminated. The doubt will be legal right available to citizens only or any person, even if foreigner is owning some property in India, that will also be his legal right to protect it. So logically if you answer right, so the answer is for any person, for example some US person has come to India and they have earned some property, you cannot take out it, right. So that is his legal right, that will be there, he will or she will fight in the court, right. So that is legal right to be given for anyone, or else no other person from other countries will come and earn something from India, they will not invest at all in India, right. Yes, few people have answered, Oindila, Santosh, Prakash and then Sahana. So answer is B. Next question about methane, we have discussed about methane, let us see who will answer this. Trida also answered correct, very good. Methane is more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, first statement. Methane has higher residence time than carbon dioxide. So simple, this was also previous question from UPSC CAPF of 2011 or 2010 something. Methane is more potent greenhouse than CO2, methane has higher residence time than carbon dioxide. First statement, we have seen the intensity of methane is much higher than greenhouse gas, right, isn't it? So this statement is correct. So 2 and neither one can be eliminated. First one, it has higher residence time than carbon dioxide. No, methane can be up to 100 years, but carbon dioxide is much higher, 20 years, 30 years. So this statement stands wrong. So answer is A. Very good. Prakash, Trida, Malini, Santosh, Oindila, all of you have answered it as correct. Very good. Next question, consider the following statements. This is about nutrient based subsidy scheme. Let us see who will answer this. Nutrient based subsidy scheme provide a fixed amount of subsidy based on the nutrient content present in the fertilizers except urea. This was also previous question copied directly from the papers, I think it is civil services only. Yes, Sahana is also correct. Now try to answer this question. So this is subsidy given to the certain fertilizers except urea based on nutrient content. As per the report, the urea sales have fallen down in the fiscal year 2020 to 23. So in 2023-22 they are saying that urea sales has fallen, the people who are buying urea is reduced. The scheme is administered by Ministry of Agriculture. Let us see, from very simple things we will solve this question. First statement is correct, we have discussed that urea was not there, but other things will be given with the nutrients, based on nutrients. So one should be there, you can eliminate this, and third, Ministry of Agriculture can also be eliminated. So it is of Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, right. So third statement is also eliminated, so this is also eliminated. 2020-23 there was an increase, initially it was decrease only 2010-11 and all, but because of government keep reducing the prices, the urea consumption has increased. So second statement is also wrong and hence answer is A, right. We have discussed this, isn't it? This point we have discussed. Only initially it was reduced, but later it kept increasing. The utility has kept increasing, demand has kept increasing, right. So, yeah, this is third question. So, Santosh, Vaindila, Sahana have answered it as correct. So, I do not know why certain students have missed this small trick, right. Answer is A. Next question, which of the following category of persons can vote in general elections? In general elections, people who are detained on preventive detention. So, they are asking which people can vote, So, let us see who will answer this, who has understood this article properly can answer this. People who are detained on preventive detention, people who are convicted in some cases, but released on bail, So, this person can vote, they are saying. People who are in jail on the trial, but not convicted. Who can vote? Right. So, let us see very basic thing. First one, we have discussed that whoever is in jail at the time of election, they cannot vote, whoever are in jail. So, this person who are in jail, even if it is trial or convicted, still the person cannot vote, right. So, this third statement is wrong because he cannot vote. So, this can be eliminated, and one should be there. We have seen preventive detention people can vote, and only in case if the persons are in jail, only they cannot vote. There is no such case that if person may be convicted, but he is out of bail, he can vote. Only if he is in jail, then only he cannot vote. So, this person also can vote. Answer is B, 1 and 2. Santosh, Swarupa, Prakash, Trida and Sahana has answered it as correct. Very good. Last question for today. On which of the following instances generally the windfall tax is levied? Windfall tax is levied. On purchase and sale of equity shares, equity oriented mutual funds, on the profits realized from the sale of assets such as stocks, bonds, real estate and the other investments, on specific industries when they make unusual profits, on a person who occasionally undertakes transaction involving supply of goods and services. Yes, Ashmin is also correct. So, what is windfall tax? We have discussed this. So, you can eliminate on purchase and sale of equities, that is not the case. Unusual occasional buying of supply and goods, it is just on profits, but what profits? Of specific industries. This is not about profit realized from assets and all after selling. So, these are all capital gains tax we call. It is only for industries who are earning unusual profits. So, answer is C. So, Ramesh, Swarupa, Prakash, Santosh, Trida, Oindrila, Sahana, Malini have answered it as correct. So, today's questions are application based. Intentionally I have collected a little bit difficult questions and also created certain difficult questions to make you understand how the analysis part is very important for our exams, right. So, most of you have answered it as correct for fifth question. Thanks a lot for your patience. So, we have a very lengthy session today. This is the lengthiest session that we have today, till date from the January that we started current affairs, but most of you were very patient and very attentive in the session. Thanks a lot for that. I hope the session was useful. Keep preparing, keep revising the things, and you will get your chance when the exam dates are there, and when exams are there, all these things will be really helpful for you, and this part will also help you to revise your static part as well, right. So, have a great evening, happy studies. Thank you.